Welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Capitol. I'm Maggie Hangy.
I'm Jason Adkins.
It's great to be with you. It's another busy week at the Capitol, deadline week, so that means bill deadlines are on Friday at 5 o'clock. Anything that hasn't met deadline is essentially dead for the year, but that comes with a lot of caveats. Things can still happen in the background. So we've been busy, lots of bill hearings this week. One of the things that was on the forefront is gambling.
Yes,
Jason,
gambling.
Tell us what happened.
Gambling did not meet deadlines this week, we're glad to say. The online sports betting bill, for it to survive the legislative process, it would really have to be negotiated in a smoke-filled back room and then forced on each caucus to vote for it. So on Monday, and many of you took action on this, and we're very grateful. There was an attempt to fast-track the legislation, move it out of one committee where it stopped into another committee where it's more favorable to give it more momentum. That was resoundingly rejected on the Senate floor. We're hoping that's a mortal wound, and that puts an end to the real push for gambling this year. We know that gambling advocates are still trying to get their bill moved forward, and it's important that people step up and take action on that. Now, where sports betting opponents and sports betting proponents agree is that we should ban prediction markets like Kalshi and Polymarket, and also online sweepstakes gambling. Now, we agree for different reasons, right? One group wants to cut out the competition. We think gambling expansion is wrong per se. There's already plenty of gambling here in Minnesota. Most of it, though, involves you going places. You have to go there. At least has a social dimension. There's a built-in accountability by the fact that you have to leave at some point. And so those things are legal. Games of chance per se are not immoral, but what's so problematic about online sports betting is it takes the most addictive tool we know these days, the cell phone, and then putting it with gambling, which of course we know is addictive as well. So we're hopeful that what we can get done on the gambling front this year is ban these prediction markets, which are actually sports betting by another name, and then also these sweepstakes gambling platforms that use a dual currency system to habituate people into iGaming or iCasinos, which is the next step that they want after sports betting. So we're working on those pretty actively and testifying on those bills as well.
Yeah, and another bill that did get movement this week is our social media bill. We've talked about that at length on here. Protecting youth online, so kind of in the same vein, the online protection piece that we care about in sports betting, we care about for youth as well. That bill got a favorable hearing and is heading to Ways and Means in the House. So that's exciting. Didn't get any action yet in the Senate, but still has potentially a path forward, at least in the House. Indeed,
and we're all eagerly awaiting Pope Leo's first encyclical. I think it's going to be called Magnificent Humanity, and I'm forgetting the Latin right now. That's allegedly the case. We don't know for sure until it comes out. We're hearing after Easter, but there's still great resources from the church about the ethical use of artificial intelligence. So we testified on a bill this week that would require in any adverse determination in the medical necessity review context, what they call utilization review, so managing efficiency of resources, quality of care, and costs in the health insurance context, making sure that an artificial intelligence bot or an algorithm is not making that decision. The Vatican document Antiqua et Nova, which was approved by Pope Francis before he passed away, really is a beautiful document that lays out important ethical considerations, particularly in healthcare, and speaks to this very bill that when it comes to people's healthcare and the care and compassion that is required for authentic care, we need humans making those decisions based on careful attention to the patient and at the same time within ethical boundaries, not metrics of efficiency that are put together by algorithms and bots that are using impersonalized data to make decisions, but of course they're not making decisions at all. All they're using is tubes and wires to calculate probabilities. And so it's really disassociated from the personalistic type of healthcare that we all deserve. So we testified in favor of that bill today. And there's a lot of these bills this year that are building some non-traditional allies. So we're glad to work across the aisles and across the ideological spectrum to build common ground for the common good. So watch more on that. A lot of things in the technological, artificial intelligence space. Data centers we mentioned last week. There's a lot of discussion and movement around making sure that communities aren't exploited by data centers, that those we understand all the impacts of those data centers before we just jump in to that process, including the cost of energy for all of us and the impact on the environment. So those are some of the big things that maybe aren't on people's radar that we're also paying attention to this week.
Yeah, and there's another bill in the AI space that is getting momentum at the Capitol. We submitted testimony for tomorrow's hearing that would prohibit the use of AI chatbots for youth. So these really don't have a lot of benefit. Youth don't have a lot of benefit using an AI chatbot. They can tend to be dangerous, lead into, there's been cases of suicide and other harms caused by just talking to this chatbot and not talking to real humans. So like Jason said, a lot of things in the AI and technological space that we've been keeping our eye on and trying to say they can't just run our lives. We can put safeguards around these things that can be helpful in some spaces, but we don't need unfettered access for all people all the time, depending on what that is.
And it's important to note that we're not against artificial intelligence per se, but it's about putting ethical guardrails. So even in the chatbot bill that Maggie mentioned, it's only limited to recreational purposes. Right. So we're only banning it in terms of recreation. Can you do research with a chatbot? Are there other legitimate uses? Can AI in healthcare do some important things like improve diagnostics, monitor fraud, streamline approvals, not just denials? So it's really about what are those guardrails that we need to put around these uses of technology, and then always be monitoring how they're impacting human life and our relationships, and then adjusting accordingly as we need to.
Yeah, so as you just heard, there is a lot going on at the Capitol. We are spanning a lot of different issues right now, but coming up on deadline week next week, the legislature is on break. So they're observing Passover. We have Easter break up in there, and we'll be back on, I think it'll be April 7th, they'll be back to work at the Capitol.
So we're taking 2 weeks hiatus from inside the Capitol and resting and recreating, as they say, just like our legislators are, and then for that final last 5 weeks of session. So it's going to be a big rush. Again, as always, stay on top of things through the Catholic Advocacy Network, and be sure to go to our Action Center and take action on the important bills that we've got listed there.
Thanks for listening.
Have a blessed day and a blessed Holy Week.